Good evening and hello everybody. Um, I hope some of you are going to join me tonight on this debate. Uh, it's not a debate, it's just presenting or talking about a topic that's as old as our existence on this planet. And it's about Earth, and it has been um, come to my mind. It has come to my mind after I have seen so many debates on YouTube about flat Earth and versus globular Earth, and I have come to see this book. I have read this book about about the continuity of Earth. The book title is the world beyond the poles, physical continuity of the universe. The book presents the idea of the author that is not a new idea. It's a revival of an old one that preceded Galileo Galilei, and it's about the continuity of the Earth. He doesn't say the Earth is flat. He said the continuity and beyond the poles. The Earth just stretches in every direction, and our concept of the stars, the sky, the planets is nothing but an optical illusion. There is not much about the author that you can find, and it seems like that's the only book he has written, assuming that it's only one person and that person is a guy and existed actually. But I have a hunch that it's just some people or some person who want to represent the idea that supports the church and the religious version of our concepts of our locale, the earth, and is hiding behind this name. And it's not a person that has been from the 18th century. It seems the way he talks about himself, the way the author writes the style, it seems like some monk or some priest from medieval times, but acknowledges that it's somebody from the 18th century who sets off on a pilgrimage to try and convince people to fund his attempts to explore the earth and go beyond the poles, because some people actually went beyond the poles and found out there is land, there is green land, there are seas, there are other things beyond the poles. And honestly, I have never been on an exploration, but from my own perspective, and said, yeah, there are worlds beyond the poles. Let's say the North Pole is the Arctic Circle is surrounded by land. Actually, it's surrounded by Iceland, Greenland, Alaska, Norway, Sweden, all the others, and there's the pole in the middle. So, and there is water that's beyond that. So yeah, and then the South Pole. The South Pole is now we know that it has been mapped. Actually, it mapped. It means like they know it's south, it's north, it's west, it's east. So there is some word beyond that. But what I don't understand is, like, the other things he talks about what we see in when we look up and see the stars, or at night, those are nothing but illusions, some other places, maybe Pennsylvania or something. And he actually, it sounds ridiculous, but that's what he actually said. Uh, and I'll try and read excerpts from the book and read them as they are and introduce some of my comments. So, as I said, there's not much to know about this guy, Gianini Ferdinand Amadeo, other than he was some person with religious education, Christian education, Catholic Christian education, was Italian, and that's from the name. And he also tried to convince some people, some religious authorities, to convince him. They got convinced with his idea, but after all, it's their own idea initially, but he couldn't get funds. And he lamented, like, the way almost with his language, and very ornamented language, like, and then he keeps taking you almost like filibustering, like long speeches, and the old style that's relies on very descriptive and all those complicated words, and archaic words, some of them, and to convince us that is actually a priest who is writing that. So now the first thing I'll read is about the physical continuity of the Earth, and this is the paragraph, small one that I'm reading here, and this is his own. These are his own words. It will here be adequately shown that there are no northern or southern limits to the Earth. It will thereby shown where movement straight ahead from the pole points and on the same level as the Earth permits of movement into celestial land areas appearing up or out from Earth. In other words, what looks to you up and you're seeing it, it depends on where you are standing. It could be up, it could be down. And if you go on and read that, think deeply about it, when he says that, it could also support the globularity of the Earth, the globular concept, So, well, let's just go and read down. Now, he says he will provide proof of physical continuity, and this is how he goes about it. Since December 12, 1928, U.S. Navy polar expeditions have determined the existence of indeterminable land extent beyond both pole points, out of bounds of the assumed isolated globe, Earth, as postulated by the Copernican theory of 1543. On January 13, 1956, as this book was being prepared, U.S. Naval Air Unit penetrated the extent of 2,300 miles beyond the assumed South Pole end of the Earth. That flight was always over land and water and ice. For very substantial reasons, the memorable flight received negligible press notice. US and 30 other countries, he said, prepared unprecedented polar expeditions for 1957 and 1958 to penetrate land now proved to extend beyond the poles. Now I feel like asking where did they go beyond the poles, like south or east or west? Because that's what people keep saying, North Pole, South Pole, but there are four corners to the Earth. There's also the eastern side and the western side. And what beyond these are waters, so far, the seas. So now he promised to present evidence. He said it's simply Earth, above and beyond. Today, this is from his book, or from their book. Today, 30 years later, the United States, Russia, Argentina, and the nations and other nations have bases on that realistic land. Quote, quote, realistic land, it means the land beyond the pole, South Pole, which is beyond the Earth. It is not space as theory dictates. You go beyond the pole, you don't fall into space. You do not get sucked in a vacuum. There is a land. You go beyond that, there is a land. Land and water of the same order that comprise known Earth territory. This work provides the first account why it is unnecessary to attempt shooting up or out from the terrestrial level for journey to any of the astronomically named celestial land areas. It relates why such attempts are futile. This is what he's promising us in his book. He's going to say that you're just silly doing that, going out and up and saying we're going to this direction and setting your electronic gadgets and satellites and all that. What all you need to do is just go straight this way or straight the other way or straight the other way, and you get to other places that you think are planets, but they are just other places on this land, on this continuum we call Earth. And this is actually the religious perspective, and it's not only Christian. In Islam also they say the same thing. They say the Quran, for example, says that there is earth and whatever around it, and then there are other things, you know. So there is earth, and there are all the things we see are like lights set to for us, just lights, just like the electricity we have, but in a different way. And then in the Quran, there's also, it's also supposed to scientific perspective that there is there are planets and there are stars, and each revolves in its orbit. This is a verse actually. And that's what sometimes you can find in every book that's religious, and also in some book that supports religious perspective. There are lots of paradoxes and contradictions, and each of them supports this or that, and it's up to you to choose which one to follow. So now I feel tempted to ask, what about the atmosphere? And here is the author's answer. These pages present incontrovertible evidence that the same atmospheric density of this Earth prevails throughout the entire universe. Such a feature proves that except for presence of gaseous sky envelope and the underlying oxygen content equivalent to that of the Earth, we could never observe the luminous celestial areas designated as stars or planets. Now, this might lose you a little bit, but it says that that the atmosphere is just layers of gas that envelopes the sky. And then the light that penetrates them and then gives us this optical illusion that we are going to see later. He's going to explain even further. Now, this is a bad news for the astronauts and interstellar dreamers and explorers. Outer space, space as we've known, is nothing but an optical illusion. So there are no globular and isolated bodies to be found throughout the whole universe. They are elements of lens deception. And that explains it. I mean, when I'm standing at night at the traffic lights and you see some red light of an antenna on a very high-rise building somewhere, and that looks like some kind of stellar light, but it's nothing but that light. I was like joking and say, "Oh, that's not a planet. That's not a star. That's just light." When I read this, that's what came to my mind. Or no, the light that I see when I'm standing by the beach at night, and then I see like far back in the horizon some light that's turned in there, and then it moves slightly. Then suddenly it starts moving. Oh my, the planet is moving towards me, and then it reveals itself as a helicopter. So, so the author continues. Accordingly, the absence of celestial bodies precludes any possibility of bodies circling or ellipsing in space. There is no such thing, according to Gianini, Ferdinand, Amadeo. Now it's all lens deception, and this is according to him, and this is his theory. This work is radically and rightfully opposed to astronomical conclusions of all ages. It depicts the illusions developing from telescopic observations and photographs of the universe about us. It clearly explains and vividly illustrates why those lens-developed illusions have been mistakenly accepted as facts. The book is therefore unparalleled in the long history of the man's attempted interpretation and recording of the universe about us. It projects man's first understanding of the factual and endless universe which contains human life throughout its vast length and width. The discovery of a new world in matter as in mind is but the logical outcome of an infinite universe. So that's what it is. The Earth is just an infinite extension and continuity. And it's almost like the expansion theory about the whole universe, but it's attributed to the Earth also. I somehow kind of feel like I can be with his idea, but there are other things that let me like step back and say, I don't get it. Now here, the changing scene, a reaction to the author's theory. when he wanted to present his theory to other people. And then he said, in August 1927, if so, the world will know about it. William Cardinal O'Connell, Archbishop of Boston, one of the religious figures he contacted, and he said, yeah, if that's what it is, then we'll have them hear about it. But then that was it. He didn't extend to him any other helps, according to him. That's what he said. In 1928, July, Giannini, since words cannot confirm you, words cannot deny you. It is your work, and only you can give it. Dr. Robert Andrews Wilkinson, president of California Institute of Tech, Pasadena. This guy, this is what he told him. And then there is some other guy who said, Giannini, if you prove your concept, it will establish the most complete physical continuity in the history of man. The Reverend Professor Jerome Stein Lecold, he's a physicist and a seismologist in Santa Clara University, California. And in December, the same year, I assume, the memorable December 12th discovery of heretofore unknown land beyond the South Pole by Captain Sir George Herbert Wilkins demands that science change the concept it has held for the past 400 years concerning the southern contour of the Earth. That was some reaction to his own theory. Now, the agency reactions and more proof. Now, this is the proof he had. In 1929, more daring than anything children ever conceived, Boston, America. I think that was a newspaper that in 1947, February, I'd like to see the land beyond the pole. That area beyond the pole is the center of the great unknown. And that's Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd, United States Navy, before his 7th-hour flight over land beyond the pole. I'm not sure whether this was just what Admiral Byrd said before he set out for exploring the land beyond, the polar lands in the south, or was it a reaction to Giannini's theory, quote. In 1955, April 6th, Rear Admiral Richard Byrd went to establish base at the South Pole. International News Service. These are just excerpts from newspaper that he's depicting. April 25, on the same year, Soviet scientists to explore moon's surface with Caterpillar tank, United Press. November 28, this is the most important expedition when Admiral Byrd departing to explore land beyond the pole, and that's what he wants to emphasize. 1956, January 13, expedition accomplished a flight of 2,700 miles from the base of McMurdo South, went 400 miles west the South Pole. Radio announcement confirmed by press February 5, 1957, that enchanting continent in the sky, land of everlasting mystery. And that's what Admiral Byrd was quoted to have said. Now, just joking. In sometimes when we say in our culture, for example, my culture, for example, when we say the bird told me, it means it's just something that I'm saying, and I don't know how I got it, but I'm convinced and I'm saying it. So, and here it's extrasensory perception. He attributed all this thing that dawned him on him was almost like an extra sensory perception. He does not say almost. He says that what it was. The truth is stranger than fiction. There is no physical end to the Earth's northern and southern extent. It is now established that we may at once journey into celestial land areas by a customary movement on the horizontal from beyond the pole points. Never need we shoot up, as popular misconception demands, to reach celestial land existing under every luminous area we observe at night. The concept that the universe is comprised of globular and isolated bodies originated from the curvature that is developed by our lenses. Appearances are deceptive, optical illusions is responsible. The concept the book revolves around. You read it and read and they go along, and that's what it says. It's all optical illusion and enhanced by the light in the in the background. But he doesn't have a very logical explanation or any explanation of what that light might be. He does not even. The sun is. He doesn't say that the sun and we revolve around it or we are under it. It's that there is light and there is the gaseous sky, and then there is that light, and then how to account for the night and day, which is kind of something that he couldn't bring about to focus. Now, Lens, this is a quotation from his again. Lens developed curvature fosters the deceptive appearance of globular and isolated bodies comprising the universe. The bodies are illusory. The ancient Galileo Galilei, the luminous celestial areas are isolated from each other, are circling or ellipsing in space, was founded on the inescapable errors of lens functioning. In an endless land and sky universe of reality. And I'm quoting, then leaving blanks between the quotes, and then quoting between the quotes. The entire universe must deceptively appear as circling. Then he goes on saying the so-called stars and planets, etc., are in reality lens-produced globular and isolated areas of continuous and unbroken luminous celestial outer sky surface. And this is what I talked about. Luminous celestial outer sky surface. That's what envelopes us. That's it's the luminous sky and the gaseous sky, and then that's what also gives our flawed curved lens that depicts the way it sees it, limited by its structure. And even when we have a telescope or a lens, that's what according to him, that's what it is. It's our lenses and our eyeballs and the way how we perceive light It what gives us that idea that there are those curved things in the sky, and that's the sky itself and the luminosity, the light enhances that deception, and because we're inherently flow-sighted. And we go on again to ESP, or here it comes, how he came to such realization. It was because of extrasensory perception. And I will read it as written as he wrote it. And if you remember, I told you that they talked about the author as somebody who was born in 19th century. And then he said he wrote the book around 1927 after the first expedition of Admiral Byrd's, I guess. And the way he wrote the book is some monk from, almost like, sounds like some monk from the medieval times, except for there is no Latin included. It's not like Umberto Eco writing his El Nombre de la Rosa, but it's still is similar, just in English. My thought was like, is this a ghostwriter, fictional character, someone with a new old theory, not wanting to reveal himself, or somebody who is from those people that refer to them as flat earthers, but don't want to reveal himself? Or is it a whole group of people writing it? It sounds like it, because there is nothing you can find about the person. It's almost an anonymous one. So, and here is the whole paragraph. It was October 1926 when he was sought, and this is why what gave me the idea. Is it an author, or is it a character? Because he starts to refer to himself as he, and then as a pilgrim, and this is how he talks about himself. It was October 1926 when he who saw the answer, referring to himself, to the universe mysteries, wandered through the woodland vale of old New England, lavish with the scented breath of pine and birch and hemlock. There, and as if directed by some unknown force, he viewed the massed white formation of celestial sky before it developed the luminosity which deepening twilight shadows would bring. Then it was that extrasensory perception force was asserted, and early darkness gripped the woodland scene. The seeker in spirit viewed the vast unknown. Time and space became unknown as the portrait of cosmic reality was unfolded. Mysticism. It sounds like it, right? You know how the unity between the being and what's around. It's like one consciousness when you become one with the creator and with the universe around you. It's almost like that, and that's how he presented himself, or his character, or whomever is writing this, to this inner side, and mindful of the dedication and conclusions. No. Unmindful of the deductions and conclusions of centuries, that formidable inner sight penetrated through the luminous sky depths of resplendent so-called heaven above. And he continues in this kind of style. He continues with his extrasensory perception experience in the third person, and how the revelation of the universe, land and sky, continue to dawn in him, that airy twilight wilderness, almost as if a fictional character or some monk from some very old times, uh, depicting some mystic experience. So now, was there anything else beyond the cathartic, sublime revelation of that twilight of 1926, when the author narrator had been engulfed in the universal continuity? No, there was none. With eyes, this is what he says, with eyes ye see not, yet believe what ye see not. For he shortly is going to be to debunk what what's known as science evidence-based theories, are even and even mathematical figuration of the universe around us. He's going to say all those astrologists, mathematicians, and relative theory and speed of light, nothing. Those are not actual facts. Now, the seeker of 1926 journeyed the celestial beacons on the wings of the extrasensory perceptions, limitless necromancy, communication with the dead. The magic permitted breaking through the long established barriers of deductions and hypothesis and theory. It disdainfully pushed ice barriers of terrestrial North Pole and South Pole. The most fascinating creative secrets were divulged. Throughout the ages, they have been held in a sacred trust for the doubter and truth seeker who ventured that way. The seeker then disclosed provided knowledge of land course into all the land areas of the universe. Hence, discerning consciousness, it was plainly shown there are no ends to the earth. Notice he refers to consciousness the same way he uses man, seeker, doubter, as if he ends up becoming one with this universe continuity. See, mysticism. It's almost like a metaphorical journey. So he said, if you notice, there's in this paragraph, there's something that says the magic permitted through breaking through the long established barrier of deduction, hypothesis, and theory. It disdainfully pushed ice barriers of terrestrial North Pole and South Pole. Well, that was in at the beginning of 20th century, according to what's written in the book. And we know now that the North Pole is almost gone. It has almost gone. There is some ice still in Iceland and Greenland, but then that was actually, people believed that the world ended there before. And that's why America was not discovered until certain age of this earth. Very recently, maybe 500 years or so, because the ice that was in the North Pole was a barrier to people crossing the other side. There were people in there, but nobody knew they were. So if you think deeply about what he's writing. You might not convinced by what he's writing, but it triggers questions in your mind. You might not agree with him, but then say, yeah, there was a North Pole, and the North Pole was found out not to be the end to the North. And then, yeah, Antarctica is now not just ice in the south. There is land on that place. It's rocky land, but it still is land. It's not a land that grows. You can grow anything on it, but it's a land. It's too cold to live in comfortably, but it's still a land. So I agree with him completely. There is some word beyond just the North Pole, the South Pole, but we are not ready to go there. And probably because um, explaining how the seasons and the night and day and how these things happen because of the proximity to toward whatever sun or light or whatever that hot ball of light that shows up here and there. So if you probably go further beyond the south, everything might just evaporate, and then we'll find a discontinuity because of that proximity to that kind of uh, heating gas we call sun. So, and then he says, you're calling me mad, probably calling me stupid, probably, but I'll tell you, there was some man that you people called mad and crazy and stupid and silly, but they revealed themselves the people that emancipated this earth and helped us evolve and get where we are. And these are, for example, he talks about Socrates, mad by the majority of his contemporaries. He was called mad, and he is the father of everything you can call him. Father of medicine, of science, of philosophy, of all kinds of things. He might not have been the greatest one in comparison to what we are, but he opened paths to certain type of knowledge that, according to him, people who followed his path went on further and further. Now, the immortal Christus, denounced as mad or more than one occasion, and then he referred to Jesus Christ, was also called the same thing. Um, then the strangeness of harnessing steam from the propulsion of boats. The person who did that was called also mad. Benjamin Franklin, insecure tampering with the elements by catching lightning with his stupid kite and key, he adds, the eccentricity of Thomas Edison is recalled. His particular insane notion was that of holding powerful electricity in a fragile glass bulb, and that's what we are using now to produce electrical lightning. Those people called mad and called silly and sick. Some people probably went to the madhouse. Uh, and then Westinghouse and equally insane ideas of stopping uh, a monstrous locomotive and train with nothing more than formidable than the release of air brakes. Insanity gave us air brakes. His list did not exclude Louis Pasteur and others, example, the Wright brothers, Alexander Graham Bell, and others. And then he said his odyssey towards proving his new vision of the world had him ridiculed, thrown out of class and university when he asked questions that other people or talks about his ideas um, to others, and that others thought he was silly, or somebody who wanted just to attract attention, or somebody who wanted just to create problems, and had him exposed from the class. Summer 1927, this James quest led him um, widen out what is it? Arbiter of the mathematical universe, the famous Ivy draped building of New England University. He was asked to leave after arguing there are no planetary isolation, that it was all optical deception. He met with Archbishop of Boston Physical Continuum, most premature, described as most daring by the press. So, and then he said also, continuing about with his odyssey to prove so above as so below, and then his meeting with the Archbishop continues the next day. It continued in what he described as a recital that explained that the outer sky, with what it carries from stars to planets, was nothing but a continuum to the Earth sky, or how it would look to what we consider outer sky, stars, planets. It is so because of the blue sky, the luminosity against the dark stratosphere of darkness. He said, according to the author, any terrestrial sky area would be luminous when observed from beyond the sky. Science before 1927 lacked that type of knowledge. There had been no stratosphere observation or photography. The first picture was taken in 1931 from an altitude that was not sufficiently high enough. And then he said later that when they got higher enough and got pictures, they got pictures of something that looked like a globular body in the sky. It ended up to be someplace in the United States. And then it's talking about the Amundsen, Pearl Bird, and others gone over the southern pole. Uh, Actual explorers had gone over the pole south. Um, He argued that they actually had not gone over the pole and continued linear journey. Their journey in a roundabout, not linear, they continued their journey in a roundabout to track their way to their original point of departure. They went almost 5,000 miles or so beyond the pole, then returned back without crossing over the pole to their point of departure, which accordingly to him would have proven that we actually live on a floating globe. Exactly. He said those people went almost 5,000 beyond the pole and then continued in a roundabout, he said, to track their way to their original point of departure. Now, roundabout, you go this way, right? This is really confusing. So he said that they tracked the step back, and anyway, if it were globular, what would they do? They would have go around to the other pole, then come back. I mean, it's easy. They went 5,000 miles deep in the sea beyond the pole, and then he said later or in the book that they found land and they found Greenlands and all that, and then came back, tracked the steps back, went around the pole, and then went back to their place. And we know why they couldn't go through the pole back, because they still the pole, the South Pole is still, although it has been mapped kind of, but they still cannot cross through it because of those mountains of ice, and there it's not paved. And also it has been, I've read about it in other places. It said those books and articles and in geography books also, that it's too cold to support even the ignition, and then that's why you cannot have it will make your engine stop, and even the ships and boats, they cannot go, and then because it's not all sea, it's mountains, actual mountains, and it's not all ice, and even if it's ice, it has to be broken, and so that's why Paul. Now, the inescapable illusion he talks about is how luminous sky deceptively appear as millions of rounded and isolated bodies. Since up is always relative, our sister cousins look up or out through that inner blue sky as we do through our, and behold the stars pattern that we witness. The illusory shooting up or out would take the hapless explorer away from the universe structure and project him into infinite space. So what he say, like we are here looking up and we're thinking we are looking at the sky, but other people who are up there, and up there could be down there, or could be right, or could be left, and also thinking we are stars and we are living in the sky. So now, is the universe really globular? The universe is so ordered that power increased to overcome the arc of light would precipitate the spaceship away from the universe. On the other hand, insufficient power would restrict the spaceship to the movement of all projectiles, and it would conform to the arc of light, which would return it to some land area of the terrestrial. I mean, I'm not sure we follow just our eyesight and we go this way and then we go down and then we find ourselves way. And that's what he explained with gravity. We fly up, then if we don't have enough propulsion, we go down to the other side. So only the ones that are like powerful propulsion and then can escape the gravitational pull of the earth can cross beyond space and go up to 100 kilometers. Is that what it says? Um, Beyond the atmosphere. Now, and then beyond that, there is, according to the science we know, there is space, and in space, far beyond, there are other celestial bodies. But for him, that's not, no. It's just the sky, the gaseous layers that protects us, and then the illusion that light and with the defective lenses we have gives us the idea that there are stars above. And then who knows what above from what below? And when he says that, we tell him, listen what you say. Because when you say who knows who's up and above, that means we can be this way and we can be that way and we can be that way. Which also supports the idea of globular Earth. Now, and he says some points that are very convincing, is like, and that's convincing to support our idea, not our idea, support the modern or old or whatever we can call it, theory that we probably live in a globular place, but in a different way. It's very complicated to understand it because we do not possess that kind of knowledge. And if we do, if somebody does, or if those people that say they go to space, they do not present it in a convincing way. I'm not asking people to lie, but just we do not, it doesn't look that convincing, you know? So he said, like, you know, for example, those insects, or you see on the wall, on the ceiling, or on the walls, they are there, they don't fall, not because of the fly or anything, not even flying and landing and then walking on the ceiling. They don't see us as below. They must see us as above because of their where they are standing. So to support the globular perspective, it's you're not aware of whether what's above you are above it. And because then the globularity, the speed the Earth goes by, gives it that idea. Even when the plane is flying and then flips itself, probably that even without seatbelt, if it's going too fast, nobody's going to fall. So, well, that's it about this book, and the book goes on and on and on, talking about the deception of the lens and the optical illusions, and how the light plays a trick on us, or our sight plays a tricks on us, based on the lights and the luminosity, and then where we are standing and our perspective. So, and as I said, that there is something that I believed, yeah, probable, but then he does not present any convincing points about the the alternation of light and night and seasons, and how could that ever happen? Then why do we have places that are very, very hot and places that are very, very cold, and places where where darkness almost prevails half a year, and then in other in certain season, and light prevails most of the year and another season. And then probably because of our position on Earth in perspective to that light or sun or whatever you call it, and the gaseous. So and in the poles, the atmospheric layers are thinner, and also uh, uh, it's still they're colder than other places where the atmospheric layers are thicker. And also the we probably here we're the South Pole or North Pole, and then we are almost at times where the light is not visible for 6 months, and then and then other seasons where the light is always there for almost 6 months. Maybe if we cross further, then uh, the the atmospheric layers get thinner and thinner, and then there's nothing that protects the landscape. And here is your Mars; it's all desolate and all uh, no water, nothing, and there is no Mars. And then you go further, and it's oh my, there is just fog and gases. Here's your Jupiter, and then you can think about it that way, but we have no way to understand it. We have no way to convince ourselves and convince others. But for the moment, we take it as it is. And if you have a shuttle that goes to Jupiter and comes back from it, or shuttle another one that goes to uh, Mars or uh, uh, lunar travel or tourism or March is available, and then if it's affordable, yeah, put me on the list. I would like to see what's there. But so far, I haven't seen anybody joining, and that's it for the moment. And see you another time. And hope I'll have somebody to talk to, and then chat with, and have a good night. Bye bye.